Hi. The main focus of this channel is non-commentary mod showcasing, so this isn't really our usual format. This video will go over some fun facts about Left 4 Dead you probably didn't know. We'll be going over the studio behind Left 4 Dead, its design, and its redesign. There are many Left 4 Dead beta videos, but almost every single one of them is misleading. They never reveal anything new, and all their knowledge seems consistently biased. We'll begin with something you'd think is common knowledge, but surprisingly is not. This may come as a shock to a lot of Left 4 Dead fans, but Left 4 Dead is a horror game. You won't take my own word for it, so let's just see what Valve has to say.
Hi, my name's Gabe Newell. Left 4 Dead is a co-op first-person horror game. The main part of the game is 4 campaigns or movies playable by up to 4 players. Our goal with Left 4 Dead was to procedurally generate a shared narrative that you could experience with your friends. We wanted to give you the opportunity to live out a horror movie. In order to do that, we had to do extensive work so that the character performances, the pacing, the lighting, the music was all being generated dynamically based on your actions. So how can we do this? How can we put you and your friends into this horror movie? Basically, it breaks down into 3 major categories: the director, the monsters, and the world. So we wanted to put the players into a classic horror film, and that involves a bunch of work in 4 main areas: color correction, grain, contrast enhancement, and vignetting. So now we're going to take a look at what the game is like to play, what the experience of being in this horror movie is like. And I think you'll start to get a sense of why we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in terms of this shared, procedurally generated narrative.
It's too quiet.
Here they come!
Let's go, let's go!
God damn it! I need some help over here! Tank incoming!
Fire in the hole!
Left 4 Dead was always designed to be a horror game. A horror game in its early concept stages.
So for those of you who played Left 4 Dead, you might spot the very first mover and smoker in this one.
A horror game in all of its early footage. A horror game was being redesigned, a horror game on its final retail release, and still a horror game in its sequel because it's the same game.
Last time I saw my grandmother, she asked me was I still a praying man. I told her, yes ma'am. Well, she says, pray harder.
The entire concept of 4 lone survivors being surrounded by hordes of mutated, infected people is already a nightmarish scenario, especially taking the fact that the survivors you play as are infected carriers. All things considered, this is a hopeless setting. Horror doesn't have to scare you. It can be a stylistic choice, it can have dreadful undertones. It makes no difference if you agree with Valve's idea of horror or how it's implemented. You must consider the time period of when this game was being made. It dates back to 2005. For example, that's when Doom 3 is fresh at its prime and was considered to be the scariest game ever made. Horror as a genre is very subjective. Its appeal is different for everybody. There is no definitive formula. Horror is defined by its time period, the technical limitations, and one's own individual perception. You'll see strange posts like turning Left 4 Dead into a horror game as if it isn't one. If this is not a horror setting, then what is? Many Left 4 Dead fans have no idea what genre their favorite game is, nor do they know anything about its history or the developer. You'll see strangers arguing about what good horror game design is despite having no experience even with the most basic forms of modding. They're giving this weird impression like they're the exact type of people who watch a 1950s horror movie, not find it scary, and will deny it its genre. Those types don't try to understand film or game design, they never check the source, and they discard what Turtle Rock Studios accomplished with Left 4 Dead. Speaking of Turtle Rock, A lot of people are misinformed because of the Crobecat video among many similar ones. Everyone is parodying the same thing. Crobecat showcases Back 4 Blood's typical video game jank and then compares it to Left 4 Dead, but he prefers not to show any of Left 4 Dead's jank. His video spreads misinfo and his goal is to pass all credit to Valve. I won't go over Crobecat's entire video, I'll just show a few examples of what he did. He shows a bunch of random destructible gravestones in this moment. He chooses not to show the non-destructible ones just a foot away. He shoots an absolutely random empty gas station in Back 4 Blood. He then compares it to Left 4 Dead's one and only shootable gas station in the entire game. Whatever happened to hundreds of non-shootable gas stations in Left 4 Dead? Why didn't he shoot those? He's trying to show how flawless Left 4 Dead is. Show the positives only. He tries to hide all its jank and he never shows the bad stuff. But he doesn't give Back 4 Blood that same courtesy. He does the opposite. He never tries to show the positives, he shows only the negatives. His one-sided approach should have raised some eyebrows and made it obvious his video is rigged, but no, people fell for it. Everybody fell for it. It got forced everywhere. His video inspired bigger YouTubers like Actman, forcing Left 4 Dead some genius, irreplaceable masterpiece. Which, it isn't. If you try and make Left 4 Dead look bad, I promise you, it will not take any effort. Especially if you're a long-time modder and have been around, which we'll get to later in the video. Videos such as the one Crobecat made only lead to mindless hostility, but Crobecat isn't to blame. Sure, he chose to make it one-sided and spice things up, but at the end of the day, it's the fandom. It's the people in it who choose how to act, and Left 4 Dead fans sure chose. You'll see many of them mocking Turtle Rock. They really want to demonize and take away all their credit away. They call them Valve janitors. One of the Valve devs even made a video trying to respond to people to clear up this misunderstanding. He tries to clear the air about Turtle Rock Studios.
Stop this. This is saying that Turtle Rock is a lousy studio that shouldn't take credit for all the work they did. No, they did amazing work. They did great stuff. No, do not. This is entirely false. I normally just ignore this to delete this, but this is not one that's going to catch on. No, they moved so rapidly and so fast when I first started working with them, they were tiny, but yet still every single day there'd be a crazy amount of update, from level design to art to code to the AI. It was constantly changing and iterating and trying to find that right fun. They were making it entirely the right way. The problem is the source engine isn't that durable, so it became very fragile. And when we'd come up for playtests to Seattle, I would have to make sure that we had the one video card and the one driver that it worked on. There's one problem they have, those they're small studios, so your ability to accept a lot of new ideas and new ways of thinking and get enough play testing in is really hard. So when it comes up to Valve, it's really about more time, more people, and more play testing, right? But the core was there. The Turtle Rock guys were great. And in fact, they're so good that after we shipped Left 4 Dead, some people decide that they don't want to join Valve and that they want to go off on their own, and some people joined Valve. Turtle Rock went on then, and they were like looking for work, and Valve helped them. We set them up, and then they actually got them to work with us on CS:GO because I like working with them so much. You can say you like or dislike one of their games or whatever, but they're not allowed to studio. They 100% deserve the credit that they get. So yeah, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Nobody cares, of course. Nobody shares this anywhere to spread awareness. Left 4 Dead fans don't want this. They want more Left 4 Dead is a genius masterpiece videos. They not only choose to believe that Valve made the entirety of Left 4 Dead, but also everything else. Like Portal, Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, Dota, and every other single game under their name. Valve didn't create Counter-Strike. It's originally a mod by Ben Lee and Jess Cliff. Valve didn't create Portal. It's a mod made by students from the DigiPen Institute. Valve didn't create Dota. It's a Warcraft 3 community project. It's a mod. Valve didn't create Team Fortress. It's a Quake mod made by TF Software. Valve didn't create Left 4 Dead. It was a mod by Turtle Rock. Valve did make Half-Life, the entire concept of which is taken from George Orwell's 1984 and Stephen King's The Mist, specifically the Arrowhead Project. Some people say Valve ruined Left 4 Dead 1 or 2, but that's not true. It's all made by the same developers. Turtle Rock went on to become Valve South. They ditched the original game and they moved on to work on a sequel. They wanted a more stable engine because the first game was an unstable mess. Turtle Rock are the ones responsible for the redesign. Valve gave them the budget and thumbs up. Left 4 Dead fans might try to convince you Valve is behind this amazing redesign, but that is false. The shift from the beta to retail design is Turtle Rock's own initiative.
We've been working with Valve for a long time. We were Turtle Rock Studios the first of the year they acquired us. Now we're Valve South. So we have a whole lot more resources to address for Left 4 Dead. And as a result, we've been able to really rework all the art style, do all the kinds of things that we wanted to do, but we didn't have necessarily all the resources for. So it's still the same, survive the zombie apocalypse with your friends. It's all about the co-op. It's about replayability, but it's got a whole new look.
Hey, Fred, give me a pizza with extra cheese.
Extra cheese.
And hold the tomato sauce.
Hold the tomato sauce.
And hold the crust.
Hold the crust.
Hey, Jimmy, give me a cheese with nothing.
Nothing?
There's a problem with the redesign, it's the fact they spent years developing the game with a different vision. They spent years working on that first game. They never got to finish this redesign. They couldn't even decide where they wanted the game to take place. They say the game is set in Los Angeles, but then you'd see a Miami and Canada city skyline. If the game is set in Los Angeles, then why aren't the mountains surrounding the city visible at street level? The game originally had a visible skyline, so what happened? The redesign is meant to have a power outage look. You walk through dim city streets with barely any lights, apart from a few exceptions. But once you get to the hospital rooftop, you'll notice just how lit up the entire city is, which makes absolutely no sense design-wise. You'll see how all the traffic lights are still on, but none of them emit any light. The entire redesign of the game is rushed and heavily unfinished. They're in such a hurry they didn't notice most light poles still have the lit up VMT, despite them having an unlit counterpart often just standing next to the lit ones. This area has no lighting in it, but the next map with the previous map's same area still visible now has a light. A lot of light poles are still on, but they're not illuminating anything. You'll find this design inconsistency in every single Left 4 Dead 1 campaign. You'd hope Valve would go back to fix all this and finish their redesign properly with the second game, but it's like they never even noticed any of it. They released the first game unfinished and abandoned it, then make up an excuse about the engine. They rushed and released the second game only a year later, then abandoned it just like the first. They gave up on the game sometime after its release and passed it down to its own fandom. We got the Last Stand update 11 years later that fixed things like Lewis never blinking. The Last Stand is a community update. It has nothing to do with the original developers, it's an update by fans. Some of the most notable changes they made to the game was partially disable the in-game vocalizer. They completely disabled the ability to use laughter in PvP mode. They also added the Counter-Strike guns, which were never meant to be in the official game. It's just Valve's way of making a jab at Germany's video game censorship. I wouldn't call the Last Stand update too bad, but there's too many incompetent changes forced inside the base game and you can't opt out of it. Left 4 Dead gets worse with every era, with every redesign, with every update. It got recycled so many times it lost its identity. It's not even a proper game anymore. Most of it is replaced with TF2 brick walls, TF2 trains, TF2 crosshair, compressed Half-Life textures, Half-Life trees, CS weapons. The list goes on. Many Left 4 Dead fans dismiss these things as just some Easter eggs, but there's a pretty big difference between actual real Easter eggs and recycled assets. The unfinished redesign is bad enough, now it's a mix of different source games. People say the early beta recycled Counter-Strike source assets, but that's a lie. Turtle Rock had made tons of original assets, like the Miami skylines. They used Marlin Studios for their texture work. There's a clear creative vision. Left 4 Dead had its own style, it had its own identity, it had its own unique blueprint. It was distinct. I'm curious if any of the Turtle Rock devs ever stood up against any of it. You can still find the majority of the assets like the Miami skylines from the early build still present, but they've been recycled. This reminds me of Fear 3's development hell. It was designed to be a horror game for years, but then some corpo comes in and says he wants the game remade to be more like what his kids play, to be like Call of Duty. Somebody at Turtle Rock Studios wanted Left 4 Dead to be more like Team Fortress and Half-Life. Truth be told, it doesn't matter. Left 4 Dead was going to succeed no matter the circumstance. It has a Valve logo, it has zombies.
Hey Joe, you wanna play a zombie game?
Jesus Christ, how many fucking zombie games you buying, Joe?
Hey Joe, you wanna play a zombie game?
No, I don't wanna fucking play another goddamn zombie game!
And invented the 4-player co-op horde shooter formula. By being the first of its kind, Left 4 Dead was doomed to thrive no matter what. Many people pretend to be happy or unhappy that we ended up with this Left 4 Dead, but in reality, they would have said the same thing regardless of what we ended up with. If Turtle Rock never chose to redesign their game, all these videos calling this game a masterpiece would have had the beta survivors on their thumbnail today. The redesign was completely unnecessary, and all of it was for nothing in the end because it's unfinished. I'll be comparing both games in this chapter, and many of the things I'll say and show next are both objective and subjective. I'll start by comparing the sound design of both games, so it's highly recommended that you wear headphones for this chapter. Left 4 Dead 1 sound design has a lot going on in the background. As you can see in the console, the ambience consists of many layers. You will hear gunshots, thunder, creatures, flies, buzzing, flickering, explosions, whispers. Each location has rich sound design. Left 4 Dead 1 maps have this calmness in them, and moments where you can just walk around and take in the atmosphere. You go through so many areas in a single campaign. Apartments, streets, subways, sewers, rooftops, all in just one single campaign. Let's have a look at how Left 4 Dead 2 handles its level variety and compare. Here's a deep swamp, shallow swamp, hillbilly village A, hillbilly village B. Let's compare the sound design. The Parish is a decent sound variety, but the same cannot be said about the other maps. Dark Kernel is a bit lackluster. The rest of the Left 4 Dead 2 campaigns aren't any different. Their sound design mostly consists of insects. Look at the amount of sounds used in Left 4 Dead 2 maps, then compare it to Left 4 Dead 1's amount in variety. The sound design in Left 4 Dead 1 has a lot more going on, and I'm not even mentioning other things. For example, gunfire will have an echo depending on how far you are. Left 4 Dead 1 has it, but Left 4 Dead 2 doesn't. In Left 4 Dead 2, you can swing a heavy axe for all eternity, but shoving a couple of times will completely exhaust you. The icing on the cake is how poorly coded the entire melee system is. The cooldown exists because of Left 4 Dead 1's different game modes. Left 4 Dead 1 is a game where melee weapons do not exist or were never accounted for. In Left 4 Dead 1, Versus didn't just have a different approach to balance or shoving, it also drastically changed the entire level layout in PvP mode. In Versus, the shove is cooldown. The specials can stagger the survivors away, the level layout is different, everything is PvP oriented. In campaign mode, the shove is infinite, the map layout is PvE oriented. The overall balance is different because it's a different game mode. Let's compare Left 4 Dead 1 texture work with Left 4 Dead 2. In Left 4 Dead 1, you'll see self-shadowing bump maps everywhere. The world is a lot of detail. The same cannot be said about the sequel, though. Have a look at the texture work in Left 4 Dead 2 campaigns. Almost all of it is bland and static. You'll rarely ever see Valve use bump maps anywhere in Left 4 Dead 2 maps. The only bump you'll ever see is on some recycled swamp water. On some very rare occasions, you'll spot them use gravel or road bumps, but it's so rare you might as well forget it even exists. Look at Left 4 Dead 1 sunlight and baked lighting on Blood Harvest. Let's compare Left 4 Dead 2's baked sun shadows. Baked lighting is static, and the source engine can receive 4 lights per surface. The quality doesn't affect performance, it's the overlap. Left 4 Dead 2's baked lighting has absolutely no reason to look this dreadful, especially since the whole game is set in broad daylight. Combine this decline in quality with Valve's idea of fun level design where they spam you with hordes on every map. You gotta fetch 10 gas cans to refill a tiny car tank, refill 16 generators. It's all very tedious and repetitive. Campaigns like Piss Stream and The Last Slop take the cake. They have no quality control, and it's because they aren't made by Valve. It starts off by flying through the entire map. You're welcomed by this black magic floating custom map PNG text that plagues other custom maps. Yeah, thanks a lot for showing me the name of the map I just selected. Now I know where I am. The level design mostly consists of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 trees copy-pasted everywhere. An official campaign, for example, uses at least 50 unique surface textures, each one unique for each level, and I'm not even counting the models. Death Toll, for example, uses at least 10 different nature blending tools. Throughout the whole campaign, Coldstream only uses 2 nature blends, despite the entire campaign taking place in a nature setting. The campaign recycles 10 surface textures, copy-paste every single model. There's no thought or care here. Every single level spams infinite hordes to compensate for how lackluster everything else is, and the campaign just sorta ends like a wet fart. Thanks to Coldstream, we officially have Stolen Stalker tile textures in Left 4 Dead 2. These ones, to be exact. The Last Nightstand is the same, only more pretentious. It's reusing a similar amount of blend tools over to save time, showing a lack of care. The skybox belongs to vanilla Death Toll, but copy-pasted. The map is creatively bankrupt, and the finale feels like a complete chore. I have absolutely nothing to say about this campaign.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
It's originally a Left 4 Dead 1 survival map, so their work was already finished for them, yet they still failed to deliver. That is fucking incompetent. Thanks to The Last Stand, we had Stolen Stalker car assets in Left 4 Dead 2. It eventually was replaced with Half-Life 2 slop. It shows how little Valve cares about what they accept. It's unclear why third parties are allowed to make changes to the official game. I won't compare view models or characters. All of it is too subjective. What's not subjective is whether or not Left 4 Dead 2 is a masterpiece. It simply isn't. Its focus is clearly set on quantity over quality.
Look at all that shit. You really need all that shit?
Sequels are meant to take everything from the original and refine it. They're meant to polish and expand the established mechanics. Dead Space 1 and 2 is a perfect example of a sequel done right. It refined its mechanics, it expands on the established design. Left 4 Dead 2 fails as a sequel. It doesn't refine any of the previous game's mechanics. It removes half of them and betrays its own design. It adds new stuff, but all of it is useless like the grenade launcher. It's a special gun, so let's see how it deals with a special enemy. Left 4 Dead 2 adds new stuff just for the sake of adding it. None of it is fleshed out, and most of it conflicts with other items and mechanics. In Left 4 Dead 1, you had the pipe bomb for distraction, and Molotov for everything else. Left 4 Dead 2 adds the bile jar, which completely botches the pipe bomb's design. Left 4 Dead 2 doesn't separate different game modes properly or its mechanics, which butchers the whole melee system because it uses Left 4 Dead 1's shove stamina system. Left 4 Dead 1 was in active development for almost a decade. Left 4 Dead 2 was in development for barely a year, and it shows. The sequel feels like an unfinished tech demo. So, why are so many people forcing this steaming pile of shit as a genius masterpiece that outdid the original? It began with Valve's media manipulation. Way back when people were boycotting Left 4 Dead 2, Valve was doing everything to convince everyone Left 4 Dead 2 is good. In this interview, you can see Gabe quite literally admitting to Valve targeting groups of boycotters and brainwashing them into buying the sequel.
One of the concerns that were raised by people who had Left 4 Dead is, what's different enough about this to justify it being a new sequel? So we've spent a lot of time talking about what the scope is, both artistically and in terms of the scale of the game, and doing anything we could to make sure that our fans understood why Left 4 Dead 2 was a really positive evolution, rather than just us trying to come up with a way of so we tried everything. We tried to find people who were sort of articulate spokespeople for that skepticism about this and bring them in here and show them what we were doing. And that was proved to be a pretty effective way of communicating with sort of these really hardcore members of the community and reassure them that this was a good thing rather than something that they should be skeptical and worried about.
The average gamer isn't detail-oriented. To them, Left 4 Dead 2 is just Left 4 Dead 1 with more guns, more maps, and more zombies. So Valve's brainwashing was effortless. It was so effortless, a lot of the boycotters ended up buying the sequel more than normal consumers.
By really focusing on communicating with that group, we can also measure how well the Left 4 Dead 2 is doing in pre-orders. And so Left 4 Dead 2 is actually, for people who've joined the boycott group on Steam, we can look at their pre-orders, and they're actually pre-ordering the product at a higher rate than Left 4 Dead 1 owners who weren't in the boycott. And what that tells us is that we did a really good job. Hey, we're going to do a sequel, and we're going to do it in a year.
With the release of Back 4 Blood and Crowcat's video, Left 4 Dead 2 starts being propagated as some genius masterpiece by people who don't even know who made the game or its genre.
Left 4 Dead is one of the best, most fun the world has gone. Just when I managed to install Fairly Feet fanboys.
Left 4 Dead 2 is not a masterpiece. Left 4 Dead 1 is, but that doesn't mean it's flawless. The unfinished redesign is holding it back. Speaking of the redesign again, there's one more thing I'd like to reveal about it which nobody seems to know or talk about. Have you ever wondered why early beta Dead Air and No Mercy screenshots look really identical? You will find most early No Mercy skylines recycled in Dead Air, but why specifically there? Because Dead Air and No Mercy are the same campaign, it's been recycled. If you compare No Mercy maps with Dead Air maps, if you special paste their levels into each other, you'll see how they match. Left 4 Dead was originally designed to be a semi-open world, and some of the maps were fully connected. You had some different routes to take, you were meant to explore the world. Turtle Rock were very passionate, but they overestimated themselves in the source engine, so all of it was cut. Many years later, we have a crap ton of people spreading misinformation about what the original beta was like. This guy claims early Left 4 Dead design was all about pitch blackness, and I don't understand why he's twisting it.
The environment itself would have been much darker in some areas, with lighting being primarily how you would be able to see, mostly from much more light sources of lit windows and buildings, signs, and a much more brighter skybox. It was going to be originally way darker, pitch black. Thank God this was changed. As you can probably imagine, doing a whole 2-tank finale, everything originally was going to be darker, less engaging, bloated, and as I've stated multiple times before, less fun for a general repeating game.
The beta wasn't dark at all. You can look at Valve's screenshots of it. It was lit up like a Christmas tree. The light poles were on, the streets were fully lit up. Did he look at those oversaturated clips recorded on a Nokia brick and thought, this is exactly how the game looked in reality or something? The beta was much brighter than retail, especially if you compare them side by side. All of it was cut as a way to guide players. In retail, you'll see lights only in areas you have to go to with directional arrows everywhere. The game treats its player like a complete imbecile, which makes sense once you look at their playtester footage. They all play like they're demented or something. The semi-open world was scrapped because playtesters kept getting split, lost, kept dying, or always chose the fastest route to the finale, not to mention the source limitations. It's a shame. I think they could have found ways to work around all of it. By mid-2000s standards, an open-world game would have been revolutionary for the source engine if done right. Scrapping concepts and ideas is not always a good thing. The Witch, for example, was originally a bigger threat and would go after every survivor once alerted. She's meant to be a special boss, but she got nerfed to the point where she's completely harmless in retail. You have to be actively trying to get killed by her on purpose. The entire reason she was nerfed is because playtesters somehow kept alerting her, so she kept wiping them out. They got frustrated and blamed the game. Instead of cutting it, Valve could have made it so the Witch goes after every survivor only on advanced or expert difficulties, or only when she's on fire. Or made it a realism game mode only thing in the sequel. There are many ways to rebalance a mechanic. Cutting stuff out is simply a waste of potential. Scrapping enemies, mechanics, and chunks of the game because of incompetent playtesters is crazy. You can pick what you personally think looks better. To me, it's the lighting, it's the 2D skylines, it's the lit up streets and windows. You can see what they tried to accomplish with the redesign, but they either lost the vision or the people who carried it left the studio. Game redesigns focus on refinement, they focus detail, they focus innovation. Downgrades are used for compatibility. They focus consoles, they focus profit. In Left 4 Dead's case, the downgrade is disguised as a redesign. The lighting and visual effects, like bloom and weapon sway, got cut. The open levels were cut. The game is trimmed down and oversimplified. This is not a redesign, it's an unfinished product, and there's a reason why they abandoned ship. They were meant to finish what they started in the sequel, but they ended up making it even worse. Left 4 Dead 2 retails will try to convince you that this is a redesign and not a downgrade. Cutting half the game out and replacing it with TF2 assets is not a redesign. The original developers are mocked and discredited for everything they've done. One of the devs tried to stand up against the mass hysteria, but got ignored. The Left 4 Dead 2 fandom is the prime example of why you should not be making something that's for everybody. You risk creating a divided community years later that will spread hostility and call you a janitor. This is only a problem if your goal is to unite the community. In Valve's case, that was the goal, and this is the result. A lot of the same hostility can be seen targeted at a mod called Nightmare, which is not a mod nor a game, it's a collection. You can find many Left 4 Dead clout chasers making videos on it, most of which are propagating it as the scariest or hardest mod ever created. It's funny, considering the fact Nightmare is none of those things and is not advertised as such. The YouTubers either glaze or propagate the mod as something it's not trying to be. The same Zoe thumbnail everywhere recycled a million times, the same clickbait titles, none of them care to explain what the mod really is. There's this one retail fan who made a review on Nightmare. In the style of Crobcat, he attempts to misrepresent things and focuses mostly on jank. He'll tell you how the mod changes everything heavily, while showing footage of stretched decals, or just him shooting propane tanks point blank. From the first minute of his intro, it's clear the guy doesn't give a shit. He doesn't explain the premise, he doesn't try to learn how to play it. Nightmare is not the topic of this video, but it sheds a lot of light on the Left 4 Dead 2 community and draws a line to Turtle Rock Studios' mass hysteria. It's similar. A proper Nightmare review is a video for another day, but in case I don't care to make it, I'll just give it a brief rundown and be done with it. Nightmare is an arcadey action horror mod pack designed for veterans of the game. It's a total conversion that merges Cry of Fear and early beta Left 4 Dead. It does not have lore, but the overall concept is that you're in purgatory, you're between life and death, and that is the entire premise of this mod pack. It's not about being realistic, there's no green flu, it's not vanilla Left 4 Dead. You fight doppelgangers of yourself, shadow creatures, and other twisted things. Nightmare primarily merges early beta Left 4 Dead with Cry of Fear, but also Dead Space and Doom. Left 4 Dead is a horror game, and Nightmare reinforces that, by adding some hardcore survival horror elements. However, Nightmare's goal isn't to scare you, its focus is set on a horror aesthetic of a bygone era. Left 4 Dead at its core is a fun co-op game, and Nightmare doesn't take that away, and encourages it and adds new ways to experience it.
Close the fucking door on me! Fuck! Hey! Chill her! Chill her!
Dude, wait, what? You're alive?
Yeah.
You're alive?
Yeah!
A lot of people find Nightmare scary. A lot of people don't.
I don't know why they had to change the main menu to a list. I don't know how that contributes to the horror experience.
It doesn't matter. Horror doesn't need to scare. It's a thematic style. Whether or not you think Nightmare or Left 4 Dead do a good job at horror is
a subjective, philosophical point of fucking view.
To conclude this video, Left 4 Dead is an overglazed console game with an outlandish community that's gotten completely out of line. Left 4 Dead 2 is not a horrible game, it's a horrible sequel, but luckily enough you can fix its problems. If you want to see your legs, you can install a mod and see your legs. If you want to hear gun echo, you can install a mod and hear the echo. If you want to play the beta, you can install a mod and play the beta. Left 4 Dead 2 is superior to Left 4 Dead 1 despite being objectively inferior, simply because of its workshop. If you don't like something about this game, you can fix it with mods. But it won't really be the same. Workshop add-ons are not the real deal, and modders will never be able to fill an ocean of lost potential for Left 4 Dead. Modding this game is too hard. This video is created solely for satire and entertainment purposes. It's not sponsored, and you should not go after anyone or interact with sick individuals. The people who enjoy something will keep enjoying it, and keep to themselves. The vanilla retail purists are just a loud minority that doesn't matter. This video is probably a one-off and serves primarily as a beacon for other content creators who want to learn more about Left 4 Dead and its poor sequel. It was created to clear up and shed light on the Turtle Rock hate. It was created to analyze and explain what Left 4 Dead is, its history, and some of its design. Nobody has ever made a proper Left 4 Dead critique video, because this game came out before the era of widespread gaming critique videos. So, this video really just exists as a way to help tip the balance a bit. Ta-ta!